Pyramid One Radio. This is a Pyramid One International Network presentation. Hi, and welcome to Pyramid One World Radio. Let me tell you about the host that's coming up. His name is Dr. Randall George Nozawa. Dr. Nozawa is living proof that a person can do everything right only to suffer horrific events that stymied decades of hard work and left him blind. The two most gruesome tragedies he suffered would make the fire-breathing Godzilla buckle in bitterness. Not Nozawa. He's grateful just to be alive. Nozawa had played high school football in Honolulu and later became a professional bodybuilder. When he moved to Washington, the muscle-bound Nozawa enrolled at the University of Washington's dental school, studied hard, and faithfully graduated. Yet, years later, after the opening of a handful of dental clinics, when he could finally afford the lifestyle he had always wanted, a tree came crashing down and foiled all his best laid plans. The second was when Dr. Nozawa was caught in the middle of a couple's domestic violence incident one fateful night. His neighbor first shot his wife dead, then shot Nozawa in the head from 12 inches away before finally shooting himself. Two tragic events that would change his life forever. You may call it tragedy. The doctor said, misfortune is just disguised as an opportunity. I say Spirit has a plan for everyone from the beginning, and Dr. Nozawa's plan has just began. Missing both eyes now, Nozawa has to get used to moving about indoors and out. Shortly after the shooting and recovery, he realized that he desperately needed help learning to navigate, so he signed up for Washington State's Department of Services for the Blind, which took 10 months to be admitted to. In his words, the doctor says, dreams do really come true, but you have to believe it before you can see it. He said he has made his own dreams come true by helping others pursue their life aspirations in his free 14-page book, Precipice of Potential, which can be downloaded from his website at www.drrandallgeorge.com. Nozawa asks provocative questions to help readers examine their own lives more closely, like, what do you do that fills you with joy and excitement? When is the last time that you gave something, anything, freely without expecting or wanting anything in return? What did you do with your last $20? Certainly food for thought. Dr. Randall Nozawa agrees with me that we are all family, and our conscious selves are and have been since the beginning. a place where love, yes, love, is the most important thing in our lives. And I am is a term which means self-love is a human trait that makes us all whole with the universe. It's my honor to introduce to you, to the universe, your host tonight, Mr. Randall George Nozawa. Oh, there you go, Doc.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Well, it's all yours.
Exciting show today. We I've been trying to track down this guy for months and months, and when we finally got him, and at the right time. Okay, this is John Whitehead, and I subscribe to his channel, and what he brings to us is so crucial at this time, where our country and the world is in turmoil, and just heading down the wrong road, because we have, I think, the wrong and weak leadership, and at least in this country here, we have rights that our forebears gave to us that have been trampled on. And so I so wanted him on the show to discuss these things, and I could talk to this guy for hours, but we only have this time on this show. But I'm so glad he's finally here. So Mr. Whitehead, thank you for showing up, and thank you for what you do, and how you educate us with your writing, because we're so in need of leadership right now, and I get a lot of mine from what I read from you. So thanks for coming.
Thank you, Dr. Nozawa, for having me on the program. Yeah, one of my major goals in life is to get people to fulfill themselves and get involved in the life around them. I think basically what you've been talking about, and showing empathy toward each other and protecting each other in a society, what we're seeing today. And, I've written a number of books, over 30 books. My last two focused on these issues, Battlefield America and A Government of Wolves. But the idea is that we're dealing with government entities now that do not really have much empathy at all toward others. And as we're seeing our society break down, the increase in suicide among teenagers, veterans coming back to this country, the suicide rate's very, very high. And I've worked with a number of veterans on this issue. And kind of the weird cases we're seeing today, and all the shootings and killings across our country. And what I'd like to do is to see people, you can stop it. I mean, we have the power to do that. I mean, and that's one thing a lot of the government officials realize that. And John Lennon, the former Beatles, said, and he preached nonviolence. He says they'll tweak you on the beard, they'll jerk you, they'll pull you down just to get you to be violent. But the one thing that they can't handle, the two things they can't handle, is humor and nonviolence. And so I'm trying to get people, we can make tremendous strides nonviolently. If you look at some of the great Gandhi, you look at Martin Luther King and people like that. I mean, they practice those principles and change the face of their countries. But that's what we need to see today, and that's what I'm trying to do through my organization, the Rutherford Institute. We defend legal rights. We put out a lot of educational information, as you said, and trying to get people active in their government, especially today, because we face something that, and we can talk more about it, we're in a total surveillance state right now, and there's 80,000 SWAT team raids happening annually across America, 3,000, up from 3,000 in 1980. Kids are getting killed. Up to 500 dogs a day are killed in these raids, and a policeman used to show up and knock on your door. Now they just crash through the door in the middle of the night. They're killing former Marines, some cases we could talk about, who have done nothing. They're in the wrong house. So we really better start acting, folks. And we don't have much longer. As I say, something I've written about, the Pentagon and the United States government is predicting this country could collapse totally by 2030, and they have to impose martial law. They've actually done a training video for their generals on this and federal agents across the country. So they're getting ready.
Oh no, the one. Thanks for that, and thanks for bringing up all those topics because this is my a big concern of mine, and for Bob too, is that I see this escalating. And you've talked to before, and I've read your article for today, and that updated me on a lot of things. But it seems that one, our constitutional rights are no longer rights; they seem like privileges, and it seems that depending who's on the Supreme Court and who's running the government at the time, that these certain laws get implemented that seem to decrease our freedoms, and then yet everyone just kind of goes along with it. And so you talked about the Patriot Act in this in your most recent article, and boy, what a devastating one! But it's crept into law and our legal lexicon of our diminishing rights and freedoms. So can you speak to, I guess, the average person out there who's been generationally conditioned to kind of acquiesce to authority and not ask questions and say, oh well, that's the government, that's the military, that's the police, I just gotta go along there. Well, Mr. Whitehead, that's enslavement to me. And I think we're a lot better as people. And then, what if love came first and we cared for, other folks, like that instead of this enslavement state? And I think it's worsening, and we're letting it happen. So can you speak on that and what we need to do?
To quote George Orwell, who wrote the book 1984, you don't really become conscious as a human being until you rebel. And what he's saying is, at some point in your life, and the earlier the better, by the way, in my opinion, you're going to see something that is injustice, and you're going to have to say no to it if you're exercising, empathy again and care for others and your rights. But here's one of the issues we're facing. 74% of Americans in a recent poll could not tell the questioner, how many rights, how many amendments are in the Bill of Rights. They could not tell. And your average kid in my day, when I was growing up, you automatically knew the answer to that, 10. Over half of Americans can't tell you what's in the First Amendment. I've talked to lawyers who can't tell me what's in the First and Fourth Amendment, and I've talked to police officers. So that's one thing we're facing, and this is something, again, you can do and change in your local communities. If your schools are not teaching rights and they're not doing that, they don't read the Declaration of Independence. They're being told now that history is racist, and I'll study certain parts of history. And here's the thing. These are government schools, and we got to be very careful because, in my opinion, I don't think they really want us to think. They're very politically correct. And in order to function as a real human being, you have to be able to disagree with one another without hitting each other or getting violent. Discussion, debate are great things to do. And I'm trying to get people to nonviolently and calmly discuss issues. People who say, I hate Trump, I hate Biden. I'm just saying, hey, why don't you two people sit down and chat about this for a second and see why are you fighting? Why are you getting ready to hit each other? And they're doing that. And that's because you respect the other person as a human being, as a living human being, somebody who can be cared for and taken care of, and you're not going to bash their heads in. But we're trained, we're indoctrinated and programmed early on to back all the military stuff we're seeing happening overseas, the drone strikes, where innocent people are getting killed by the military, which gets trillions upon trillions and trillions of dollars. Police busting, like I say, busting in doors, shooting a man laying in his bed with his girlfriend through the window. Nothing happens to them. They get qualified immunity. You mentioned the courts. The courts have almost unanimously backed police not having to pay for anything. They're busting through the home of Jose Guerrero, a decorated Marine in Arizona. They were doing SWAT team in the area during the night, in the middle of the night. They crashed through his door. They were looking for marijuana, that evil plant, by the way. And they busted through the door. He grabbed his shotgun, the only gun he had, put his wife and child behind him in the closet, and was standing because he thought it was burglars. Yeah. It was the police. They saw him at the end of the hallway. They fired and shot him 71 times. His wife rushed out of the closet to try to help him. They pushed her away. And they come to find out the safety was not even was never came off his rifle. He hadn't even took the safety off. And here's a decorated Marine. In other words, he wasn't violent. What happened? There was no marijuana found in his home. They were in the wrong place. Virtually no one covers these stories. They're happening. Little girls getting shot in apartment buildings when police are doing SWAT team raids, climbing through the window in the middle of the night, things like that. So we need, what we really need is educated citizenry, and it's going to take parents getting down to the local school boards and changing some of these things. Kids should be taught the Bill of Rights by the time they're in the 5th grade at least, and be able to know them. They should tell you what's in each right. If you want a conscious citizen, we either slaves or rebels in a society today. And I'm calling on people, hey, you may have to rebel, but you know your rebellion may help some people, just like some of the, again, the great people of the past.
Okay. No, thank you for that. It's one of those things where, well, thank you for bringing up all these topics. So, we're in, and Bob and I talk about this all the time, that this two-party type of political system, and to me, it's one of these kind of back and forth and all that. But by reading your last article, your today's article, is that since the early 2000s and 9/11, things have changed radically. Now, how can we, one, either improve this two-party system that's not us against them and win-lose kind of thing, or how can we just replace it with something that might be more fair, or just representing the people, where they get definitely involved? Because right now it's as far as politicians, it doesn't matter what kind of label you have with a D or an R. It's they're bought off by lobbyists, and it seems that they're doing everything for their party but not for the people. What can we do to change this?
Well, you can run alternate parties, but here's the thing. The average American watches 150 hours of television a month, okay? And most of your mainstream media news is, I'm not calling it manufactured, but it's there for entertainment. And they push certain issues and certain stories. And when I'm watching it, and I'm seeing some of their advisors coming on now. Again, I've been on many of those programs in the past. Now you're having these advisors come on. They're former NSA agent, former CIA, FBI. I'm going, wait a minute here. I thought we were supposed to have journalists giving us the news. Now, Carl Bernstein, who worked with Woodward in exposing Nixon, Bernstein Woodward, did an excellent analysis. He did an essay where he said he was shocked. This is a Pulitzer Prize winning, award-winning journalist who said, hey, and worked for the Washington Post. He says, it's amazing. I found out the CIA, NSA, and groups like this were vetting, even editing our stories. And it blew his mind that the government had infiltrated. And you said it there. It's the large lobbyists, the corporations. There was a study, very well done study. I encourage people to read it, and I've written a lot about it. It came out of Princeton University and Northwestern University about 6 years ago. They studied 1,800 policies and laws passed in Washington during a 20-year period. They came to the conclusion, the professors, that it was all backed by statistical evidence, that we're ruled by an oligarchic elite, about 585 billionaires at that time. And we talk about, people hear the word deep state now. The deep state came through a memo that was leaked by the FBI, where they said that basically the country was ruled by the 7th Floor Group. And as journalists and some of them got more information, come to find out it's the large corporate interests that work with the government. And basically their main goal is, and this is another thing, they've stopped seeing us as human beings. We're data bits, and they want our money. And that's basically it. And that's what the study showed. And another study that kind of compacts with that came out just a few years ago by an SMU professor, he studied how psychopaths, where they congregate, basically where they're concentrated. He did a detailed study, and he came to the conclusion it was Washington, D.C. And if you know what psychopaths out, your listeners, they're people with meanness, they're manipulative, they may look good on media, but they're just nasty, kind of crazy people. And what it says basically, and this may throw some people a little off, but we're basically ruled by a choice of psychopaths. And I'm serious, when you're voting today, you're voting for people who have pushed themselves all their lives. They have all this money and stuff like that. And how much do they get out in the streets and say, here's here, my friends, all you homeless people, let me help you in some way. You don't see them doing that. You see them go off to golf, to play golf, and do those, and take trips and use our money to do so. And they get the congressmen up there taking. Most people don't know this. They take off at least 3 days a week to raise money for the next campaign. We're paying for that. And see, and the reason this is happening, it's again, I go back to what I was saying, a lack of education. The educational factor is really important. The Constitution starts with 3 words: we the people. We the people are the government. And that's what we don't get. Trump's not the government. Biden, if he gets elected, won't be the government, or whoever. We're the government. We're supposed to be controlling the people. So if you want to see who's the fault, folks, go look in the mirror. You're sitting on your butt watching TV. You're not getting active in your local city politics. And the 10th Amendment says city governments can nullify acts, state and federal government. You can just push them back. And I've helped governments do that way, but locally, by the way, and it does work. So there are things you can do, but we're going to have to stop being a society who stares at screen devices. And talking to young kids today, I don't know if you gentlemen, if you've tried in detail teenagers and stuff, it's like the screen device is like going into their head and fusing with them. It's hard to get in the energy. And wait a second here. Why is that dangerous? I'll stop in a second. Let you ask another question. Why is that dangerous? Because the people running those images and that information today are not people mainly. Artificial intelligence is taking over and determining what people see and do. So if they're teaching us, like, let's go to virtual education today. Who's teaching what? It's like Bill Gates said. He said, what do you need with schools if you got virtual education? And it's going to get crazy. It's like a case that we may be getting involved in. Just happened a couple of days ago. A kid had a toy gun in his, a 12-year-old. If you saw the issue, he got suspended 5 days for having a toy gun, kind of meddling it and shooting like that with it during pointing it here and there, doing one of the classroom things. And the school actually said that he brought a weapon to school. Well, what was the school? It was his home. You see how far the government can encroach into your home? They're implanting themselves in our homes now. So, folks, I'm trying to put out a warning. Watch out. It ain't going to be friendly.
Oh, that's great. Bob, you want to jump in here?
I wanted to jump in there because we're talking about a lot of things, and of course, Nat, you got the 2 parties. You got the Republicans and you got the Democrats, and I mean, you can like or dislike whichever one you want to at any time you want to. But John was completely, totally, 100% correct, and I've said it, Doctor. You've heard me say it a billion times already. We, the people, runs the country. Get it into our head. We don't get it because of the marketing and everything else that's done through either the portable device that people are looking at. I mean, come on. Just today, and I do this every day, just today, I almost ran over some old lady. She's got this thing in there in front of her thing. And she went across the street, and I figured, okay, fine, plenty of time in that to get across the street and everything else. And then, of course, we're like a 25-mile-an-hour zone, so I wasn't going to, like, splash her all over the place. But going across the street, all of a sudden, somebody must have written something on there. She looks at the thing, she turns around from her phone, and goes the other way, across the street again. Now I'm real close, right? So I opened up the window and I had a look out, and I said, lady, put it in your pocket. Maybe you'll live. I mean, seriously, this happens all the time. So what John's talking about, AI, it is AI, because which one of you, I know you guys have phones. Do you ever get the Google report that shows you where you went with that phone every day?
Yeah, they do location data tracking it.
Exactly. They know exactly where you've been. God forbid any of you guys get a girlfriend that gets a hold of that phone, you're dead meat. But the idea that I'm trying to make here is AI is going to, I would say, maybe I'm batting something off a wall. Between 5 and 10 years, it's going to rule 50% of your life in one way or another. I mean, I just saw the stuff in a hospital. Believe it or not. AI operations. The AI does the operation. They take your MRIs, they take your X-rays and everything else. They take the data from that, they put it in the computer. Now the computer already knows where to aim, where the target is, what it has to do, blah, 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 and it goes on and on. And they do better than a human being because they're right on. They can't be wrong. They can't even be close to being wrong from 1/10 of 1 millimeter. Can you believe that? No human hand can do that. But they're doing it with machines. So when you're looking at all this stuff on your machine, on your phone, on your TV, like John said, people watch TV. In the behind part of all those ads, there is something being shoved down your throat that you don't even know what it is. It's either in the color, it's either in the sound. And that I was a musician for 39 years. I know how to put something in a song so to make you think it's something else. I mean, I've done it. I wrote music for years. All of these things can be done. It's psychologically taking you over. And sooner or later, it's going to be just like China. China's the one that started this. You see those people that standing up before they go to work, and then they're doing their exercises and they're standing in lines and they're all dressed in the same clothes and everything else. This was programmed a long time ago into their minds, and now they're doing it to America. And America is actually going for it. The people who we are supposed to have voted in to take care of us and the country are not taking care of us and the country. They're taking care of themselves, their bank accounts, and whoever else wants money or favors or power. You can pick one of the three. I don't care which one. But John, is that correct or not?
Well, Elon Musk, of Tesla, who has developed the Neuralink, which will be put in people's minds, it'll connect you directly to a computer. And They already have that, and it works. But he said, I keep sounding the alarm bell, but until people see the robots coming down the street, they won't know how to react. And he said when they become in power, if they become an evil dictator, he said, it's over, folks. We're dead. And this is a guy who's seeing all this. But Google also has pushed what's called the Singularity Program, which they said is going to be in operation by at least by 2029. And that program is the fusion of the human mind with the computer systems and the internet. And once that happens, I mean, it's going to be very, very difficult to get out of this. And like I tell people, we're in the spider's web. The question is, can we control the spider? But as I look at the majority of Americans, and that's where I get very nervous sometimes, it just seems like they don't want to wake up. It's almost like you'd have to push them underwater, their head underwater, and shake them for a few seconds and say, look around you. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie They Live by John Carpenter. Mm-hmm. If you haven't, watch it. Because it's basically predicted a society where there was kind of this artificial stuff that was going to be directing everything and controlling everything. And that was back in the late 1980s. And it's coming to life. Police are now using robot dogs in some cities, some states. The last couple times at the airport, I saw robots moving by, watching everybody. And the robots can pick up everything now, all your biometrics, whatever, your heartbeat, and scan your face. And it's put into the FBI Central Facial Recognition Database. So every time a crime is committed, and when all our faces are on that, by the way, they watch whatever we're doing. And again, those are cases that we see and have worked on. But yes, I think that we may be coming to what's called, and some are calling it, the end of humanity. Mm-hmm. The end of humanity as we know it. And when you have Google works with the Chinese government developing location data. They work with governments all over the world. They admit it. Okay. They work with the NSA, the CIA, and down the line. Amazon does too, Microsoft. So we're in, like I said, we're in the spider's web. The question is, can we control the spider? And I don't know what, you have to wake the people up. That's the key. And you said it. It's them. They're the boss. I mean, why? Again, I wonder. When I tell people, say a policeman pulled me over and I was so nervous and shaking, and I'm going, well, what does that say about our country? And I've studied Nazi Germany. I'll be honest with you. A lot of things I'm seeing develop, and they've been developing over the last 20 years, looks very close to Nazi Germany, especially now with all these terrorism liaison officers they come out of fusions. They're average citizens, and the police are working with what they call vigilantes in their communities who are watching. These are just your neighbor. They're watching you to see if you're doing something, and they report you to the police. That's how Nazi Germany got going. That's how the death camps got going.
Yeah, doesn't that look like the children that were under German rule in Germany under Hitler?
Yeah.
They sent those kids to school and they taught them obey, obey, obey.
Yes.
Exactly what they did. Crammed into the. I mean, I've read more things than on World War II than you could ever believe. My background, I'm 100% German. So I wanted to know where my family came from. And I came from, the family and the whole 9 yards. And then you go into the back of the history of these countries. Do you realize that what's going on or went on back in 1937, 38, 39, 40, in that era, and that they were working on psychological, warfare in a sense in their own country, and that making everybody believe that Hitler was the best thing that better than chocolate ice cream with fudge, one of those kind of things. They did this, and they are now doing it here.
But one reason one reason it works, and one reason it has worked, is because in 1938, people did not realize this, but J. Edgar Hoover sent over his right-hand man to Germany to study how the police and the government work, and he loved it. And I've written about this in my book. And the war broke out. They didn't get to work with the Germans. But after the World War II, and most people don't know this, Project Paperclip, I don't know if you've heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
They brought in thousands of former Nazi heads into America. They went into the universities, the government, and Reinhold Gehlen, who was one of Hitler's chief surveillance spy masters, actually set up the CIA, believe it or not. And they confused in government. And when you saw the 1950s, the so-called McCarthy era, where people were arrested for just believing certain, brought before the House Un-American Activities Committee and examined for being so-called communists because they didn't agree with the government, that was all sparked with that kind of thing. And I think that one reason we've seen that is because there is a tendency, and I've talked to former NSA and CIA agents who read my books, and they come and see me and they go, "John, you're right, but let me tell you something. It's worse than you say."
Yeah.
Who's going to power? I had a former fellow who lived pretty close to me who worked for the intelligence agencies. And we started talking, and I told him what I did. He says, "Oh, yeah, I read your stuff every day. We have to study it." And I went, "You're the government. You're studying my stuff. Why?" "Well, it's just our job to watch out, make sure, we got to watch for the extremists and stuff." And I'm going, "But I have free speech. You should not be watching me. The Fourth Amendment says you're not supposed to do surveillance on me unless you have some kind of cause to see I'm involved in criminal activity. And speaking my mind is not criminal activity." So they watch everything we're doing, and it's getting worse, but we're following a semi-Nazi model right now in many ways. And there's a fellow named Robert Gelately who wrote an excellent book called Backing Hitler. He went over to Nazi Germany and studied all their records in detail and came to the conclusion it was the people who actually turned in other people, watched them, that led to the death camps. So who was responsible? And like you say, and another thing we talked about, I just want to say this before I forget it, the number of candidates. We should have 20 candidates we should be able to choose from. If I go to the store for a cold medicine or allergy medicine, I have 10, 15 choices. They give me one or two guys that you look at them, you're going, is that the brightest we can do? I'm sorry, folks. I know people down the street that actually act brighter than the political candidates. So what are they giving us? And again, it goes back to the deep state model. Who runs the government? 585 billionaires. Who? And, during this COVID thing, people don't realize this, and maybe you've talked about it in the show, but the top 10 billionaires in America made $283 billion while homelessness and the cities were crashing. This is the first 6 months.
Oh, do I hear you talking about California? Huh? What was that? What? I mean,
so let's face got some issues, and it's education precedes action. That's the key. Educate people, and programs like this are good. Educate the people, and put a spark in them, you know. And I know I've seen this happen with clients of mine. I've represented hundreds of people. They get a little victory, boy, sometimes, and they go, whoa, I can do that again. Then they become picketing and stuff like that. And picketing and things are really great. Now, you may get arrested for it, but, you know, again, I defend people. I don't charge. I raise money to and get lawyers to volunteer their time. That's how we operate.
You know what I was gonna say to you. I just wanted an opinion. You know, I mean, we got this thing going on now with the House. That's our House of Representatives. The House of Representatives are representatives of the body, or the body meaning us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what they're supposed to do in the House is to, by their representatives, find out what we need. So it's us funneling our information to them, funneling their information to a vote or a panel or a caucus or the Pelosi, if you want to put it that way. These things, what I have seen, and I've been watching really, 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 really right. I mean, let's face it, I can't stand here and talk if I don't watch these things. And let me tell you, it's a comedy show. It really is. And I was in Washington, and I sat up on one of those decks up there, and I actually watched it. And I laughed.
They call them the galleries, yeah.
I had to go there. One of my company's net was SecureNet. SecureNet was one of the first we invented, in a sense, the facial recognition that's now used in airports. So when we did that, you had to go in front of the House, and you had 5 minutes to tell them why you should be doing what you're doing. Because, of course, you got the NSA and all the other guys that are looking down your throat, especially the FBI, because they want to know, why do you need our list to look for terrorists? Duh. You know, it's like 2 and 2 make 4, dude. But, you know, when we say things like this, I stood there, and the guy that was behind me, he was a senator. I forget what state he was from, but the guy was giving his serf, or his person, you know, there that was taking care of him, his lunch order. I'm talking. I got 5 minutes. This guy, I could hear him behind me making his lunch order. And this is back, let me see what year. That was about 1993, 94, in that ballpark somewhere. And this was a technology that could be used to find missing children, find, bad guys like that are here, domestic bad guys. This could be used for anything. It could be used in bus stations, train stations, air stations, even on the highway, if they needed to find, let's say, a vehicle or something. Do you know that it's not used in all those places right now, but it's used everywhere to find you, whether you did something or not? They got your face. If your face pops up somewhere and you did anything wrong, or you stepped over a line somewhere, your face is there. If you put on your cell phone, how many sites ask for you to take a picture of yourself? So instead of using a password to get into your phone or get into your program or get into your website or a website, all you have to do is take a picture of yourself. Then that picture goes back, remembers the picture that you took for it in the first place, puts it together, matches it, and now you're in that website. But what you don't know is that picture of you that you took, that you go into that website, is now in a master database.
Yeah.
Master. Nobody knows what that funky looking building is in the middle of New York with no windows. It's a huge building with no windows. Do you know that whole building is servers? The whole building is computers. I didn't know that. I mean, somebody I can't say what.
There are AT&T towers. There's 8 of them across the country.
Yeah, and it's nothing but servers and computers. That's it.
Watching everything, yeah.
Yep, and everything goes into that. And Google, by the way, has they can lock into that and get any information from all those spots they want in a second. You hear these, right? And then you hear these police people and the FBI and the CIA. They're looking for somebody. What do you mean looking for somebody? You can find somebody in the middle of Walmart's parking lot if you wanted to look for them. This is crazy. Why? My question is, and I talk to a lot of people every day, and I mean, I ask them all the same question. What do you want? And you know what? I never, ever, to this day, have ever maybe I would say I'll be brave. Maybe 5% of the time I'll get an intelligent answer. The rest of it is BS. You don't get an answer because they don't know what they want. They've been so inundated, their minds are somewhere else.
Brainwashed.
It's not on post. They can't focus. They can focus on a cell phone, they can
Yeah.
focus on a computer, but that's it. Period. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I'm serious. I mean, maybe I'm just an old fart, but I mean, hey, when I was a kid, there were different things. We did different things. We either played or we went to school or we studied or, whatever. I mean, we used to go bowling on Saturday nights. I mean, now, everybody's sitting by somebody's house playing games on his flat screen TV on Saturday night. I mean, come on, use your brain. That's part of what's wrong with we, the people. We, the people, have been taken over by AI or the media or the programming that's done right through these screens.
Yeah, it's what I call digital heroin, basically. We're addicted. And there's no doubt about that. And, you rate about the facial recognition, you raise some really good issues. The FBI database has 640 million facial images that they have. And they also do familial research. I don't know if you know that. They take your face and they go back into your family and find out who you're related to.
Yep.
And see if this is predictive policing. They're trying to see if they can predict if you're going to be like do you have a family where there was a lot of crime? Well, so they would say behaviorally that probably you're going to commit a crime. So your threat score goes up. And what do I mean by threat score? The Department of Homeland Security does threat assessments on each home in America. They go from green to red. If you own a weapon, it's definitely a red. If you committed a crime, it can be a yellow. And when people wonder why police sometimes when they come to the door are so agitated, the police have all this information now. And if you had a gun and just got rid of it a year ago, and just sold it to your neighbor or something, you can get shot now because we've had cases where police show up at the door, we've defended the people, and they've slammed them down, face on the lawn, pull them out, and go in their house looking for somebody who's not there. And they make a mistake. But they had the wrong information. That's another problem with the AI system. It's not going to be like a human being doing analysis. They're watching for what I would say is outer layers, not inner layers of what we really are. And so there are going to be some mistakes made by it. And so, and China has the first synthetic, but they call it newscaster. And I've watched the news. I don't know if you've seen this guy. He looks like a real human being. I mean, you can't tell the difference. And you have digital sex now with the guys with these robotic women, and that's increasing, by the way. Most people don't know that. Robotics is moving very, very fast. Like I said, Elon Musk said it. I'm screaming about it, but people are not going to realize it until the robots are coming down the street. And the robots are going to be coming down the street. They already are. You have the drones that are flying overhead now. Many of them already have been programmed, and they're operating on their own. That's what happened to one of the strikes over in Afghanistan. The robot made a mistake. It's their robot drones. And they can pick up your face from 2 miles up in the air. The drones can. So 7,000, they say, are flying over the United States in some form. And some are as small as dragonflies, by the way.
Some of them are smaller than that because now they got the mosquitoes.
Yeah. They have an ant they developed that will take 2 stamps on the foot. It will not break it. It keeps moving. I mean, it's called DARPA. That's the research agency of the Pentagon. And again, they have all this money and all this stuff to do these things. And here's another thing I ask people. You think you live in a representative government? I didn't vote for any of that. Did you?
Mm-mm.
I didn't vote for the war that they're conducting. I didn't vote for all that military equipment going to local policemen and dress them in black outfits and train them militarily so they look at me like I'm an enemy combatant. And that's why people are getting shot and beat up. I didn't vote. So what's this? We vote for one or two guys, and people say, well, it's the lesser of the two evil. It's still evil.
Did you hear what Trump said today? We're on that subject because I'm telling you, that was a good one.
What he said
today. He said He said, well, they were saying because he made some kind of a report, some kind of remark in that about the Pentagon and the guys in the Pentagon. And he said, look, he says, all the people he said that are serving, he said, they love me. He said, the guys that are over them that have all the stars, they don't like me. He said, the reason why they don't like me is because I don't like wars. Wars make them money, keeps them in the Pentagon, keeps them making all the companies and everything else, and then the equipments and planes and everything else. He said, makes them tons and tons and tons of money. And these guys are the rulers of what they do. He says, but I don't like wars. He said, especially ones we shouldn't be at.
Yeah.
I was like, yes. I was like, I mean, there's a lot of comments that Trump makes, and even Biden, but well, Biden, he's out there somewhere. But the thing is, when you really, really go and you analyze what he said, he's right. Because look at what happened. I mean, I don't know how old you are, John, but I mean, I'm like pushing the 7-0. But the thing is, these people were the people that I almost was drafted into Vietnam. And at the time, we were doing our marching, peaceful marching across the George Washington Bridge in New York, where I was. And all this, the reason why we did this is because we did not believe that the war was a war. It wasn't. And now, how do we know this? Well, it was easy. As soon as we walked in, Sheridan walked in, the Hilton walked in, I forget what the other company was that walked in. Now it's a vacation spot. You know that? All those people that were supposed to be in the government now over there, they were being groomed all while we were over there blowing their country up. Why did we do that? I don't know. We lost a lot of people. They're talking about COVID. More people are foolishly losing their lives all around the world. All around the world. Well, America is all over the world fighting, shooting. Yeah. Or with equipment and bombs and Russian missiles and everything. Why are we there? Do you know? I don't know. Do they know? They'll tell you, no, we're there because we're America. Well, good. Which country has come over here to help us? Now, when we're in an emergency situation, you will see Australia. You will see England. You even see French. You see Canadians. But that's it. There's over 138 countries out there. I know because 132 listen to us.
Yeah.
On here. So, I mean, seriously, why do we do all this thing? That's our money. And yet they say, hey, I mean, Pelosi just a couple of weeks ago, and she was at a meeting. She came out of the meeting. They said, what about the money, for the stimulus money and that for the people, the $1,200 checks and everything else? She said they don't need it. Really? Did you see that, dude? Did you see that in the media? No. But some blow guy that went and he wrote it in one place, and then I noticed he wrote it in another place. So it wasn't a lie. I mean, it was two. I mean, everything he wrote was the same.
Well, under Trump's dropped over 80,000 bombs since in the Middle East now since he's been president. He's starting to catch up with Obama, and the military-industrial complex has always ruled very, very strongly. I mean, that was Eisenhower's warning. He said, do not let the military-industrial complex take over because it will decimate the country essentially with debt eventually and result in a lot of people getting killed. And so that's what we've seen year after year after year. And like you, I was drafted into Vietnam. I went ahead and served. I had a back injury and actually acted as a peace activist in the Army, by the way. And it was a strange experience, but I learned the things talking to generals and people since then. And money runs the show in Washington, D.C. That's why you have the wars and the bombs and the drones and this and that. Otherwise, who's attacking us? I don't. I mean, why do we have bases all over Africa now? Why are we in Africa?
Yeah, that's strange. Why? Yeah.
Why are we in Africa? I mean, we're all over Africa. But again, it's money. And guess who are you have the government, which is a parasite. And then you have we, the people, who get our blood sucked. And we are drugged by our devices and easily controlled. And we're starting to act like robots in many ways, people are. And again, Dr. Nozawa, I think you're right. We've got to come to a point where we're people again and act like people and treat people, get to know our neighbors, stop fighting over politics, because politics, I always said that if I was a ruler and was trying to figure out how I can make people think that they had a really neat government, and I'd go, oh, this voting thing, that will really work, because they will vote and say they did their job. Voting is the least thing you can do, you know. And James Madison, who wrote the Bill of Rights, said this: we ought to mistrust all those in power. And why? Folks, look at the history of the world from Greece to Rome all the way through. What's happened? You've had nasty, mean people. They get in power, psychopaths. They hang people in all over Europe. They killed thousands upon thousands of so-called witches during periods of history, and all the crazy things government did and have done. The Roman Empire, crucifying people, by the way, and doing cruel things. And so it's been there. Listen, we're not learning the lesson. And again, there's 3 of us here. I would like to see 5, 6, 10 maybe people that will wake up. But it's almost like it's going to take somebody with a big foot to kick them right in the butt.
Mm-hmm.
Kick them up against the wall. Maybe we need another John Wayne or a Clint Eastwood or someone who's kicking people in the butt.
Something like that. Doctor.
Like that. Or like my father. Yeah.
Oh, no, thanks for bringing up, and you guys are just great. But I guess, for all my shows and especially for my YouTube show, is like I always ask, what's the solution? What do we have to do? Because, I read your stuff every time it comes out, and I learn a lot, right? But a lot of people that will read your stuff or maybe even listen to Bob, they go, oh, these are just conspiracy guys. They don't know what they're talking about. Yeah. That the government's on my side and they're going to protect me. And all, and I go, wow, really? Oh my gosh! And right now, this elite 1% is, they're playing their hand. And this 2020 year kind of just says it all, and I just find things worsening. How can we excite the people or get them off their butts, because they're kind of waiting around, and they might be all pissed and all that, but a lot of them are losing their income or spent all their savings here, and then they're waiting for the government because they're doing the social distancing thing. They're wearing masks, and they're waiting. The government will save me, and I just find this getting worse and worse. And they're becoming more of these Stepford wife people, because they're not exercising their free will. They're not thinking critically, and they're running because of fear. And things are getting worse and worse and worse here, and and you can see this already. People are turning on each other, because you get rewarded for that in China. Yes. Now they're going, yes, those guys not wearing their mask and not social distancing, I'm going to report them because they don't care about other folks. And how can we create leadership, John, in our world, as far as even with our school system, with our political system? What do we need to do? Because it seems like I get to talk to Bob all week and all, but a lot of times you feel powerless, because whatever you do, whatever I do on my shows, it's like you get some people watching and all that, but people not doing, because they're just going on like everything's going to return back to normal and we can just kind of proceed on, and no one knows that they're slaves. And I see this worst thing. What do we have to do?
Well, you have to have shows like this. I mean, independent shows, and there's some other, it's a great show. There are other really good shows that I've been on that talk about these issues. I think that homeschooling is one thing that would work if parents would do it and teach their kids the Constitution. I think, and again, you can go to our website at rutherford.org. I give away a Bill of Rights pamphlet that explains it really clearly. You can teach your children the Bill of Rights in the home. And when you see these crazy policies, like this kid getting thrown out of school for 5 days for having a toy pistol in his room, by the way, he's a 12-year-old kid. Parents in that community should be screaming and saying, what are you doing? cases that we've been involved in. A case where a little boy in Ohio went up to the teacher's desk to get a note, a piece of paper. He turned around, his best friend in class took his finger and pointed at him and just did a silent gun. They were just kidding. They were 10-year-olds. He did a silent bow and arrow. He was pulled out in the hallway and charged with weapons possession. We got in the case, threatened to sue these people. The media hit it, and the school changed its policy. See, so again, you can get a first chance. When you see this stuff happening in the beginning, go at it, man. Don't wait. Don't sit on your butts. Listen, our prefrontal lobes, where we think with our minds, is being destroyed by the television set. We're not thinking. They do not want us to think. They want us to buy their products. That's why they have advertisements and all their facial surgery and all the other things they do to look really, really groovy on the TV set. So, but it's going to take people waking up. It's going to take shows like this. It's going to take, it takes 3 people at a city council meeting sometimes to get the city council to consider something they never would have considered. And again, I've worked in and out of government for years in terms of suing government. And even at the local government, I've seen corporations come in, take these people out to dinner, buy their local city council. I'm telling people, listen, if you've got the moral fortitude, run for government and say, I'm going to get in there. I'm going to make the schools teach our Bill of Rights. Make that part of your campaign slogan. And I'm going to give people freedom. And I'm going to try to turn this community into a community that works with each other and we're not ruled by a government who just wants to suck our money. And that's the way it is. But I mean, I can say many other things, but the thing is that it's going to take people like us yelling from the rooftops, the lone wolves. The problem with lone wolves sometimes is the government decides that they're a little too dangerous. They kind of go away in one way or another, and through violence usually.
No, and you know too, I've noticed also that you know, we've got the social medias now, and I didn't think much of them, you know, years ago, because you know who cares, you know, too busy working. But you know, especially, you know, with people using Facebook, you know, Google, Instagram, and all these other platforms, is that the censorship is so extreme now that, you know, I get a lot of mine by researching, and you know, mine are mainly health topics, you know, cancer prevention, cancer treatment, you know, autoimmune, you know, type of treatment, stuff like that. And a lot of the folks I've been following, you know, these past 5-6 years, that I had my wife look this up, and he goes, "Oh, these guys have been labeled as conspiracy folks, or they're all shams and liars." I go, "That's not so. They present medical facts that you can go look up, but when
Facebook has
people
taken
look
down
up,
31 million posts in the last 6 months. They've taken down 31 million posts Facebook in the last 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but you know, it's just stuff like that. And like I said, you know, I see where you're going with this, and you know, you know, I listen to Bob a lot too. But you know, I get frustrated because, you know, I tell folks, hey, go look this up. They go, oh, look at this. This cancer treatment's all a sham. I should just stick with the chemo and radiation and surgery. I said, are you kidding? You're going to die. You need to educate yourself and have these choices. Well, all the stuff you've recommended, it says here that they're all scams. I go, oh, wow. So, you know, I get frustrated with that too. And when people look things up, and depending, you know, what Zuckerberg thinks about things, or you know, the vaccines are a big deal here. And you know, that infringes on your rights too, because it's, you know, when you've got something, I call it a chemical cocktail, and you put the aluminum, mercury, formaldehyde, polysorbate 80, and mutated monkey virus in something, and say, well, I don't want that in me. How is that going to make me healthier? You know, I just want to build up my immune system. I don't want to be stuck like that. And now what they're talking about, you know, thanks to, you know, Bill Gates and all, is you know, mandatory vaccinations that will save the world. So, well, it's going to make you trillions of dollars, but it's just going to make everyone else sick. So Yeah, I'm kind of complaining here right now, but that's why I so wanted you on, because I read your stuff and I learned so much from it, and I share that. Whoever is on my list and whoever my audience is, I send them all Bob's stuff, and I send them your stuff too. I said, read all this, and then uh, yes, they get educated, but I find that none of them really take action. None of them get really impassioned about fighting for their freedom or wanting, to be free and all that. And that concerns me, because this generational conditioning of just blind obedience to authority and not asking questions. That's you're perfect for taking over. I need a bunch of slaves. I'll just get you guys. So, what else can you recommend as far as besides shows like this and what we're doing and what you're doing? How do we get people to not only look at the information, but get off their butts and do something?
And well, let me throw something else in there too. John, if you ever want to do a webinar with
Yeah,
like all kinds of people in it, they can call in and they can ask you all kinds of things and stuff. I can take up to 1,000 people here on the phone.
sure. We can talk
So
about
whenever you're ready.
it.
I mean, if you ever, I mean, just what I did when the people were, you've been reading your newspapers, you're in the same place I am, the same state. Right here in Lakeland, they had a big protest thing. Well, a day or two after that, I found out, that there were people coming in to, talking about it and everything else. So I figured, oh, that's where I was asking some of the questions. Like, what do you want? That's one of the biggest places I did not ever get an intelligent answer. These people are protesting. Protesting what?
Yes.
You know?
We don't
What?
have facts, like I
It
say.
really,
You
yeah.
go to places like our website's a great place to get educated. I'd go read the articles, and I talk about different things we can do, but without education, you're not going to do anything. And uh, don't believe mistrust. I mean, as Madison said, he wrote the Bill of Rights. James Madison. We ought to mistrust all those in power, and be real people. Don't be a slave. Be a rebel, but not a violent rebel. Violence doesn't work in the end. The government likes violence because then they can come back and smash you. One thing they don't like, John Lennon said, is nonviolence. They do not like it because it can be very effective.
Oh,
And so speak like human beings. And the thing I'd say is start picking up if you see somebody who needs help in your neighborhood, do the best you can to help them. Help your next door neighbors and get to know them. Get out of your home. They're turning your home into an electronic cube that you're trapped in. Get out of your home. Take a walk every once in a while. Wave
right.
at other human beings out there,
Yeah,
and
see, Doc?
we can change the world that way.
Yeah, right. The doc can say, I'm crazy, man. 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm out walking the dog.
Yep.
I swear to God, he's heard it. Everybody I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years on here. I mean, I do it every single morning at 3 o'clock and that I go and I clean my mind and everything else. I do my meditation or whatever I'm going to do. I already know at 4 o'clock in the morning where my day is going to end. Now you go, if anybody can do that on two legs, go ahead, try it. I got plenty of practice, probably more than most people. But the idea of the thing is we all can do this. And we would also, by the same term, we would also be successful in having or helping this country. And yes, John, we're getting out of here. The doc is going to talk to you now, and we're going to find out, Nat, a little bit more about you. By the way, for everybody listening, there is a blog, there is a chat room, there is an address. Just write to Bob Charles Show at live.com. Bob Charles Show at live.com. If you write to that address, we will answer you. We will send you to all the addresses and the information you need. That's another reason why I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning, because it takes me till 7 o'clock in the morning to answer my emails. But the thing is, if you want the information, we'll give you the information. It's free. We don't charge you for it. There's no membership or anything. We just give you the information to make you a giant in this country. Doc.
You can go to us at rutherford.org. That's rutherford.org. Sign up for our newsletters. I've written books, and you can find out about what we do and some of our education material. Teach your children their rights and teach them to be good, decent, loving, empathetic, human beings with empathy. And I think we can start there. Okay. Thank you.
No, that is wonderful. Thanks for coming on. And by the way, is Nisha your wife?
Yes, she is.
Oh, I've been contacting her all these months and pestering her, and please thank her for me because I send her basically the same emails over and over. When can I get John? When can I get John? And that poor lady, she's so busy, and I've just pestered her all these months. But hey, it worked. You're on the show. So
thank you, gentlemen.
Please thank her.
John, just a real quick one. We'd like you back, and I'm not kidding about the webinar thing.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Your wife,
Nisha,
your wife has my address.
Okay.
Right. And we will get, there's another person that we could also bring into the show and that too. You'd enjoy it.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks so much. Take care.
Take care.
All righty. Now, I just want to tell everybody, this is a show that you might hear in the future, close future, more times than once a week. It's coming. It really, really is. We got all kinds of things coming. We've got voting. We've got elections. We've got COVID. We've got protests. We got the whole 9 yards. And you know what? There are answers. You can find them. Where can you find them? Here. God bless y'all. Bob Charles.